Welcome to the Modern Sages podcast. In this episode, I have Leah Pardee here with me. She is an alignment mentor, a breathwork facilitator, and author of Confessions of an Uncaged Soul, and she also hosts luxury mindfulness retreats. She is so powerful. What she shares, who she is just a space of love, a space of light, and of encouraging others to really honor who they are and to step into a powerful lifestyle. She shares about her experience leaving the corporate world, stepping into more of an intuitive lifestyle, working for herself, entrepreneurship, how breathwork has been a huge key in her factors, all about manifestation. So I can't wait for you to listen to this beautiful conversation. Are you searching? Are you looking for something new, something different? Are you being called to your ancestral roots? The Modern Sages podcast is a tribe of women that believe in exploring beyond the broken constructs of society. We believe in empowering women to embrace the medicine within, all with an open mind, baby. Before diving into this conversation, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite ways of energetically cleaning out the house. So, of course, we know that many people will use sage to clear and cleanse the house. They'll go to the corners of the room and just set intention and prayer to relieve any negative or any energy that's not wanted. One thing that I love, especially in the kiddos' rooms, is using lime essential oil. Now, lime is very cleansing, it's very healing, but it also is really good for removing any stuck, stagnant, any heavy energy. And so I have diffusers all over my house. And when I'm just feeling like we need an extra boost, I'll just put my lime essential oil into the diffusers and to just set a prayer, say an intention, so that anything that no longer needs to be in the house will be released and to let go. Lime is so refreshing, it's so cleansing, it makes your soul feel alive inside. If you don't have lime oil or even an essential oil diffuser, some people will also boil limes in water and just allow that aroma to fill the house as well. So if you haven't done that and if you're wanting to clear out any stagnant or stuck energy, I would highly recommend to add lime into your space. And on top of that, for those who are feeling overwhelmed or anxious easily, what I love to do is to get a drop of my essential oil and I place it in my hand. I rub my hands together and I do a scent tent. So I just breathe it in, taking a huge deep breath, closing back down, taking another breath, just breathing in the smell of lime. And I imagine it clearing and cleansing my energy bubble. So I just breathe it in, and with every exhale, it's pushing that lime essence into my aura, helping me clear and heal and let go. And it has worked wonders. There are days where I'm feeling very overwhelmed, and I'll just have my little oil bottle with me, breathing into when I need to, just as a way of helping release and to set the intention of letting go. Let's dive into the conversation with Leah as we do explore that a little bit more. Leah, I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. I've been watching your social media and everything that you've been doing, and it's been so fun to just see how lively and how you make life really magical and every day and moving forward. And so I wanted to really, get some really good advice from you in that space for our listeners. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how you stepped into your own beautiful, unique medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all of this. So, I'm someone who comes from a background of, post college, I was just really climbing the corporate ladder and really, really in the hustle, like reading the girl boss type books, right? And just
Mhm.
like I remember reading a book, and not to this book had a lot of valuable information in it that probably really helped me, do a lot of things. But like the book Lean In and other books like that, I was reading a lot of books that were very much from this space. And at that time, maybe this made more sense, but like as a woman, like don't bring cookies to the office because you can't be too feminine. You have to like hide your feminine if you want to do well at work, right? And like that probably was something that helped women get to where they needed to be to make changes. But so I was very much like absorbing all of that and doing this whole thing where I was like giving away parts of myself and molding myself to fit what I felt needed to happen to succeed in corporate. And both of my jobs that I had were very much like super old school companies that had been around for like 100 years and run by, the traditional old white men. Nothing wrong with that, but that, tended to have a certain way that the company was structured and what they wanted. And so yeah, I was like really busy like ditching any part of myself that could possibly hold me back. So that meant, yeah, really, really ditching my feminine, really ditching my emotions, really not leaning into any of that, which of course is also your intuitive side, right? The feminine side.
Right.
So I was in the hustle, and it worked out for me. I at my job in sales, I got 4 promotions in 4 years. I was really, I was running a sales team at like 25, 26 and running a department and getting my MBA, and just I was on the move. But I had no connection really to myself.
Mm,
I didn't know what I actually liked. I knew that things we were doing at this company were super out of alignment and out of integrity, and that didn't feel good. But I didn't know what to do about it, and I didn't trust myself. I was like so deep into like anxiety and stress, and I just thought this is what you have to do. Like you have to give up anything that feels good in order to make it to the top and be successful. And I grew up with a lot of scarcity around money, so I think that also contributed to
mhm.
this need to like be super successful. And so yeah, that was all happening. And then one day, literally, this is what happened. A friend told me to read the book The Secret, and it's completely changed my perspective. I was like, oh, wait, there's this law of attraction. Like, wait, you can just be more positive and more like happy, and you can do all these things. And I right away started noticing that, yeah, I just started noticing changes right away, and noticed how I could shift out of like a negative mood if I chose to, and all these things. And so from there, I started reading more books like that, and I got really into it, and I started listening to podcasts like this one and learning about all different types of medicine that are available to us that are from within and all these things. And I decided for 1 month I would meditate and journal every day. And I was working like 60 hours a week. Like I was gone like 12 hours a day. So like at that time it was very different. It was like wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate for 5 minutes and journal for 10 minutes and then get ready for work. But it really, really changed so much for me. And I could feel myself being less anxious. I was less reactive. I noticed I could get rid of my road rage. I was like, why am I so angry at all these other drivers every single day? And just like destroying my nervous system like for no reason. Like it just started all
Right.
coming together. Like, why am I living my life this way? And yeah, and the journaling changed my life, learning how to rewrite limiting beliefs through journaling. And yeah, my whole life changed very, very quickly. And so then I started a blog at the time, and then it became my podcast shortly after, Bare Naked Soul. I decided to become a life coach because that felt like way more aligned than what I was doing in corporate. And then over the years, I started working with breath work a lot for myself, and then becoming a facilitator to teach others. So yeah, I've done a 180. Like people that knew me back then, it's so funny because I was just I was just like in corporate suits, like just being so type A, crazy workaholic, perfectionist. And now I feel like I just see myself just like walking around barefoot in the yard with like no bra on, no makeup, just like happy as can be, just like looking at flowers
Just
and like loving life.
soaking it all in. That is beautiful. I love that 180, and I see that also you gave yourself permission, to get curious, to then allow this new lifestyle to happen, which I think is so empowering. So while you were speaking, a couple of things popped up. When you were in the grind and more of that masculine energy, I would say that's more of like get things done, make it happen. How did that feel in your body? You said you had a lot of anxiety. Did you also have was your body feeling, how did your body feel in the process of all of that?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because people always say, well, like I just turned 30 a few months ago. People are like, oh, 30, now you're going to be having aches and pains. And I'm like, first of all, do not put that into my mind, please. I don't believe
Out of
that.
sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I'm like, no, 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 I'm not manifesting that. But also like when I was 24, 25, 26, doing this whole thing, this job was super high pressure. I was always like being judged and scrutinized, and people had to fire people and just a lot of stuff like that. And I had so many aches and pains. I mean, I had always had my neck and shoulders. I used to go get massages to help with that and go to the chiropractor. And I had chest pains like when I would have anxiety, and like I don't have any of that anymore.
Wow.
And it's literally it was the stress was manifesting in my body as like physical symptoms. I got sick all the time. Which I think like a lot of these are all things that I want to say like normal, that's kind of a normal experience, right? Those aren't like crazy things,
Right.
but they're also not how it has to be. And I truly believe that when we step into alignment with our soul and we make intentional decisions around how we treat our body, and like I wasn't prioritizing sleep at that time because I remember our vice president would always be emailing us at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. Like it was glorified to like not sleep. And so now I prioritize sleep. And so like you get to decide, like, do you want to make intentional choices of how you live your life? And you can get rid of a lot of ailments. I truly believe if you do that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I have felt that same way, you know. I used to work at the dental office before stepping into being a medium and doing all kinds of stuff in that space, and I was always exhausted, my body hurt. There was so much heaviness that I held on to, but it was also kind of for me when I would have sessions every now and then on the side, I was so alive and felt so, like, vibrant, and then going back into, like, going to college and going to work for full time, like, I felt dead inside, and
Hmm.
so that's when I knew, "Okay, I'm here to live, I gotta shift my perspective and move into this new space," and, of course, there's ups and downs in this area as well, but it's so much more rewarding because you feel so much more alive inside,
Yeah.
which is so amazing.
Yeah. And like I do want to say, because I was under the impression that like once I quit my job, I would just be happy forever for the rest of my life. Like I like really thought changes like that were gonna like really, really change my happiness. And I quickly noticed that that wasn't true because everything has a different set of problems, right? So like when I became a full-time entrepreneur, now I had no paycheck, right? Like,
Right.
and that can be really obviously stressful. And like you have to do the work to like it's just a different set of doing the work. It's like doing the work to do the money trust work, right? And like letting go of attaching your worth to your number of Instagram followers. And like there's like it's very easy for people to like, this is what I did. I carried that all that masculine, which is masculine energy is great. I'm like naturally more masculine than feminine. I'm a generator. I'm super fucking go, 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 go.
Mm.
But when you are all masculine and like leaned that way and don't have not in touch with your feminine, and you bring that into the entrepreneurial space or the healing space or whatever it is, it's very easy to do that. And then you're like hustling. And you're like, well, I need to do more. I need to do, and then
Mhm.
equating your worth to your doing and your money and all these things. So it's like that was definitely my experience in the beginning. And I had to work to like let go of all of that. And yeah, I just want to like let people know that like that's part of it too.
Right, it's finding that balance, and of course, we need, like, there's healthy masculine and feminine balance together, and so I love that you pointed that out because you do need both. Because if you were just sitting in, like, meditation all day long, receiving promptings, if we didn't put in action, then nothing would happen,
Yeah.
which I think is, like, a really beautiful balance. So would you say that breath work really helped you kind of bring in that like, was that what kinda tipped you into that space, or how did it was from the book The Secret, and
Hmm.
then how did breath work really relay into that for you?
Yeah, so I started meditating first, and then I learned about breathwork pretty early on to my journey. So that was something I used very early on, and I was just blown away. And then so the reason I became a facilitator of breathwork is because I was teaching meditation for a long time, and I just constantly get DMs from people saying like, "But I can't meditate. Like, you don't understand. I can't do it." And my belief is like everyone can meditate. You're just shifting your brain into a different brainwave state that we're all capable. And some people may not have that capability due to like a brain injury, but we can't, you can meditate. Like that's just a different brainwave state that you can induce on your own. And I think the reason that people feel that way is because we have this super distracted society where we're always on our phones, like we're hyper, like we tend to have hyper masculinity in our society. So do. So to sit down and try to not think about anything is like really challenging. And so I noticed with breath work, it was the thing that to me should come first, because when you're doing breath work, which for people who don't know what that is, it's essentially an active meditation. You're breathing in specific patterns. So you're giving yourself something to do, which to us in our society is much easier than trying to do nothing. And when you're breathing in these ways, you're actually shutting off your brain's default mode network, which is the part that just is our regular mode of thinking, the overthinking part of us, right? That just never shuts up. So once that is lessened, then you can meditate. Then you can be in a more peaceful, at ease, in that like focused state without overthinking, basically.
Yeah.
So I think it's really helpful to learn breath work especially for people who really struggle with meditation.
Right. Breathwork is so powerful. I even noticed, like, as I've done journey work, is when you're kind of more traveling subconsciously out of your body into this other plane of existence. And breathwork has been the constant to kind of get into that space, or I'll start to feel like this spiraling energy. And it's so incredible to see how breathwork can really empower your body in so many ways. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really, really healthy for us. It releases toxins, it purifies our body, it strengthens our lungs and like improves our respiratory health, which is connected to our cardiovascular health and our immune health and all these things. And also has like the spiritual connection where it helps you focus and can help with your intuition and all of that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So good. And as far as moving into that space of manifestation, I know you talk lots about manifestation and how you can put things out there and the power of gratitude. So, what's been one of the key things that you've learned alongside that?
Well, the hardest thing about manifestation, like it's such a simple concept, right? Believe it. And then, like, essentially, if you believe it and you take the actions that you're inspired to take, you can manifest whatever the fuck you want. That's simple. The thing that makes it hard is we have no patience. We want to control everything. We want it to look exactly like we imagine and happen exactly when we want it to. And so, to keep the faith, like, generally how it goes is we have a goal and we believe in it. We're excited about it. We feel good about it for a day or two or a few weeks or whatever it is. And then it doesn't look like it's happening, doesn't feel like it's happening. And we get into spirals of worrying and doubting and having fear. And that either causes us to self-sabotage. A lot of times it causes us to give up, or we decide we don't need it, right? Like we decide, oh, I don't really need it to happen. And then we stop taking those inspired actions as fully or with the energy behind it. So um that's the thing that's the most challenging. It's been the most challenging for me. So the biggest realization has been, and I learned this years ago. I learned this like 4 years ago, but I've gone through phases where I've been able to keep it and then it dips and whatever, right? Over the years. And you just get better and better and better at it. But is just like that surrender piece, surrendering and detaching from your goal
Mm.
while also believing your goal is going to happen. It's like it's like walking a fine line. It's like one foot in total belief and certainty of your goal and the other foot in surrender. And I think that, like, meditation and journaling and doing anything that makes you feel ease in your body, because it's like, well, how would I feel? Like the ultimate question is, well, how would I feel after this goal gets achieved? How would I feel after I found my spouse, or my soulmate? How would I
Right.
feel after I lost the weight? Like whatever the person's trying to do, well, I'd probably feel at ease, right? It's like, oh, okay, it worked. Oh, a deep breath. Like, well, you have to feel that now. You have to get those feelings in your body now. Would you feel excited? Feel excited now. Like that's the whole thing. And so I think the surrender piece is really important, like letting go of your attachment to making it mean something if it doesn't happen right away, or
Yeah.
all those stories that come up.
That is so beautiful because on top of that, when we surrender, it also probably helps even in breath work is because if you're trying to control everything, it's hard to be in the present moment to bring that into your space. And so I love that space of surrender because honestly, it's very comparable in both aspects where it's all about surrender, where you're giving up like the need to control and to just receive. And I always talk about how we have the right brain and the left brain. And for me, when I deliver messages, it's coming in on the right side. And then I find out that when I'm moving things forward or when I'm really focusing my mind, I'm like more in this area of my life, the left. And so it's kind of bringing that back into balance as well. So when you're saying that, I'm kind of seeing all of these different things kind of play out in my mind.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of like goes back to the balancing the masculine and feminine. It's like
Yeah.
walking that line, believing wholeheartedly that you get to have whatever you want, whatever you're manifesting, but also like, I'm gonna be okay. If this doesn't happen
Yeah.
exactly when I wanted to or the way I want to, I'm okay because
Yeah.
my worth is not tied up in this goal.
Right. Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's interesting because at the beginning when you're speaking, um, your aura bubble was getting so big, but it was really jumping into the right side, which to me is a lot about the mom side of the family. And it just feels like there's so much feminine support connecting into your mom's side of the family that like is so proud. And I feel like I just have to acknowledge that because it keeps coming up. But it just feels like you've done a lot of healing, a lot of connection to the other side, a lot of like owning yourself, giving them permission to like heal as well, which is so beautiful. Like I'm not trying to, like, lean into all of that, but at the beginning, it was like, "Ah," like, these shining lights of, like, so much support of you bringing balance. So I just had to point that out because it's like, "Just say that, just say it." So I'm like, "Okay, I will."
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was beautiful, just, like, your aura was, like, like, getting so big and then just leaning in, it was really cool.
What color is my aura? Is it pink?
Actually, I see it as, like, a light pink, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
funny thing because it was more of, like, that pinkish. On that side, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, "I don't wanna lean into this, this isn't what I'm doing today," but there's so much pride, like, you bring so much pride to your family in that space.
Wow.
Owning your voice, being yourself, and I don't know, it's you've done a lot, and so I just feel like they wanna give you gratitude in that space.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That really means a
Yeah.
lot to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was like, "I don't know if I should, but hey, we're here, why not?"
Yeah.
That's perfect. So kind of going into that space too of like owning who you are and being yourself and how has this standing into this space and where you're at in life now, how has that helped you feel more yourself or connect into who you truly are, embrace that medicine even deeper?
Yeah, I feel like for it's a weird thing living it's like it's hard to separate when you have like a personal brand online. It's really hard to separate that from yourself. It's like it's not like a job where you clock out and you go home and you're different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I definitely feel like over the past several years of doing this, I've been very at times caught up with like, okay, who am I? Like, how am I presenting myself? And so I would really, really judge myself whenever I would be in a different phase. So like I go through a lot of phases. Sometimes I'm like doing my hair all the time and like dressing really girly and like super into like getting my nails done. And then I'll be like wearing a beanie every day and like not do my hair and like not giving a fuck and just wearing sweatpants and loving that.
Uh-huh.
And I used to like really judge myself for going through like those phases, because like we're supposed to be like in a box and have an identity and pick a religion and pick a political party and like pick a side and have a certain way that you dress. And yeah, and so I don't know if this is your question at all, but I've just been really like reflecting on this lately because I finally feel like I'm just like owning every phase that I'm in, and it's
Mm.
fine. Like this weekend, I went to Savannah. I was just telling Jen before we hopped on here, to visit a friend. Like she was getting married this weekend, so we went for 4 days, a bunch of us from college, and we like partied so hard the whole time.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I'm like, whoa, I'm like exhausted. um, but that's okay. I don't need to judge myself and be like, well, it's not spiritual to party, or it's not spiritual to dress this way, or I should be doing this because of my public image or whatever. It's like, fuck all that. Lean
Right.
into what feels good right now. Like, that is my favorite thing, is like looking at the desires over the shoulds all the time. Like, what do I truly desire in this moment? And then that's okay. I'm allowed to do that.
That is so powerful, and I think that in society, we've been taught, "You have to do this, you can't do that, do this, do that, feel bad if you do this." And so that is so true, is just embracing all of it, and, we come here to experience human world, to experience our meat suits, to experience emotion and connection, and I think that that's a key element too, is giving yourself permission to just embrace and not make yourself feel bad if you're
Mhm.
doing something that might not be okay, and maybe if you grew up in a specific construct or whatever that is as well. That's a beautiful example. And
Yeah.
then looking back, it's like, "Oh, I don't need to make myself wrong. It was fun in the moment, and now I get to move on and, go up in the world and keep moving forward in whatever way that that is."
Yeah, absolutely. So much like freedom comes when we stop judging ourselves and like being so hard on ourselves and all of that.
And it gives you a space to love people even better as well. When
Yes.
you can love yourself more. I know they always say love yourself, love others, but that's really true, is when you can give yourself that permission. How do you find that maybe when you find yourself spiraling into, "Oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I don't have that many followers, I'm not being successful." How do you find yourself getting outside of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it probably looks a lot different now. It's like a much faster process now. But I've always used journaling as a huge part of that. I find that I'll be really in my head about something and I journal about it. And then I'm like, okay, this really isn't that big of a deal. I love the practice of just looking at, like, writing down what's the thing in my head? What am I getting caught up in right now? And then asking myself, is that a fact? Like, is it a fact? Usually it's not, right?
Right.
Then it's like, okay, well, what else could be true? What else could I choose to believe? And you can go a lot deeper with that. You can look at who taught me this? Where did I learn this? All of those things. But I love the practice of journaling to like let things out and then really reframing it and declaring what I want and declaring how I want to feel, how I want to see myself. And then, so I do that, and I still do that work because, of course, there's always like new things that come up. But in the moment, like throughout the day, if I have a moment of like worrying about a goal or questioning myself, or worrying about something I said to someone, right? In those moments throughout the day, it's more like me stopping and like putting my hands on my heart and saying, like, okay, I'm noticing right now that I'm really judging myself or whatever it is. I'm going to choose to let this go. I'm going to forgive it. And then I'm going to move on. And it's kind of like, like a little prayer or a little whatever. And if there's like heavy feelings there, like if there's anger or whatever, I really let myself feel it. Like, I do not stop myself from crying unless I mean, if I'm like I mean, sometimes I'm at dinner and I cry because who cares? But there's situations where I don't let my anger out in the moment. But most of the time, I let myself feel it. Like, I will
Right.
scream into a pillow, I will cry, whatever needs to happen to release the emotions, because we don't want to bottle those up. But if there's not like a heavy emotion attached, then it's more just like a quick process, forgive myself and move on, and just detaching from that overthinking
Mhm.
and moving on with my day.
Yeah, I have found journaling is my go-to as well. It's I feel like it can be very intuitive when you journal, because sometimes it's like, "Okay, if I start journaling, what am I gonna journal about? How am I gonna shift my perspective?" But I feel like really when you kind of write what's going on in your mind, automatically you'll feel this shift inside. I feel like it can be very intuitive in a lot of ways, at least has been for me. And even if I go in with no expectation, just journaling, "Okay, this is on my mind." And I'll just start writing or even doing like an infinity sign and just allowing whatever to come through in my side. I feel as though it always brings in more inspiration and I feel more connected into myself here. Did you used to journal a lot when you were little? Was writing a big thing for you?
Yeah, I definitely had like diaries, and I think back then it was more like, here's what I did today, right? It was
Yeah.
I've had a crush on this boy today or whatever. But I've always loved writing. Yeah.
Mm.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I grew up I had so many journals, but in my elementary schools, they used to let us write books, and they would publish them, and I wrote that was my favorite thing to do in the school year, and so I have 4, I think 4 books published that are, like the hardback is like a little kid, and so I was just wondering because journaling's always been a big thing for me, writing has been one of my outlets, and so it's kind of fun right now, I'm working on an oracle deck and a book, and just being able to write is so healing as well, so it's exciting. And you have a book, so tell us about this book that you have.
Yeah, it's called Confessions of an Uncaged Soul, and it's a memoir. It's very much of my journey, and, just diving deeper into what we talked about today. It really touches on letting go of perfectionism and workaholicism and being really, really hard on yourself. All of those things, people pleasing. Those were like the things that ran my life.
Yeah.
And so I kind of break that journey down. And I also I touch on the present moment a lot. That's something that's like really important to me is being present. And I'm an air sign, I'm a Gemini, so like definitely up in my head a lot, especially prior to knowing about the grounding practices and doing all that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, being in the present moment is a huge like life value of mine. And so we touch on that a lot in the book, and there's some like exercises for getting grounded and present and detaching from worry and things like that. But yeah, I think people walk away. I mean, people are always saying like it came at the perfect time. So I feel like if you have a nudge towards it, just go buy it. Like it might be
Yeah.
exactly what you needed for where you're at with your journey. But anyone who struggles with like people pleasing, perfectionism, that sort of thing, definitely touches on that a lot.
Oh, that's perfect, and we'll put a link down in the show notes where they can buy your book. When
Yeah.
you were writing that, did it feel how was the process of that?
Well, it was challenging. I mean, it was a long time of me writing and then deciding I wasn't going to write the book right now and self-sabotaging, right? At the time I was telling myself like, "Oh, well, the timing's just not right. I'll wait till XYZ." But looking back, it was fear. It was self-sabotage. And so a lot of that happened and I was very also like concerned about like I originally was going to write it more of a traditional memoir sort of way where you're like, here's my childhood and then it's in chronological order and here's my whole life. But um it didn't really align where I wouldn't have been able to talk about a lot of things without really disrupting my family in a way
Right.
that didn't feel good to me. So that idea had to go. And so I ended up writing it more. I mean, it was super intuitive, it was like super channeled, and it's like little little pieces, like it's very short like chapters, and then there's like also poetry. So it's different than most, like it's different than books that I've read before, but it all just came to me the way that I wrote it. So it was a process of deciding, how I was going to write it, getting myself out of my head, out of fear mode over and over and over and over again, and then just letting myself just channel it and straight up be like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to write today? And then just like writing and letting it become fun and letting
Right.
myself enjoy it. And then it was like, yeah, like super therapeutic. I mean, writing is just such a release. So it was a good way to learn about myself a lot in the process and anchor some things in. And then I self-published it on Amazon, which that process was super smooth and super, super good. Um, yeah. And then I just recently recorded the audiobook version,
Oh,
Audible.
yay. I'm all about audio.
Yeah, it was fun. And that process was a little bit trickier in terms of like getting the audio perfect. I went to a recording studio and all of that. And I'm still waiting for them to approve it. So it's taking a little bit of time, but it should be available like really, really soon, like this week or next week.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm excited. And even I'm just gonna get the book too. I'm so inspired by that. It's I don't know, I just think it's really great to overcome imperfection and it's so easy, I feel like when we hit that point of self-sabotage or when we have a big goal, we have a desire, and then life gets in the way or our thoughts get in the way or we allow those things to kind of hold us back. And when Candace went back to school and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna keep doing the podcast, I really love it." I gave myself like 3 weeks off of social media just to regroup and reset my intention and who I am because it was so easy to get on social media and start scrolling at the stoplight, in the grocery store, not being present, right? I know we all probably have done that. We may not be proud of it, but we all have done it at some point. And I don't know, I feel like getting off of there for a while has been really healthy for me, but I had noticed how easily I was numbing myself out from social media, from like really becoming more intimate with myself. And I still find that where, after, because I work in an herb shop 2 days a week. And when I come home, I'm like, oh, I just want to watch a show and just go to bed or just like not talk to anybody. But in reality, it's a way of coping and kind of numbing out in ways as well. I mean, I don't have to be always in creation mode, but I have found that there are different ways that I kind of want to tap out a little bit so I'm not always engaged. Um, so what's your thoughts on that? Yeah, like what have you done in that space?
Yeah, so I feel like I definitely was like super into social media and super like, yeah, like addicted to scrolling and stuff before my business. But when I had my business, it got like 10 times worse because
Mhm.
then it was so much more comparison and so much more obsessing over my number of followers and like all that kind of stuff, and obsessively needing to show up in my story.
Yeah. Well, and in stories now and in reels, like it's you have to show up, it feels like even more, which isn't always true, but it can be so easy to compare what other people are doing and like, "Oh, I need to do this and this and this," and then it just feels overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really, like, important in regards to that to, like, what do I feel guided to do? Like, do I feel
Right.
guided to make it a reel or do I make it a post? Making it a post will get less engagement. Maybe that's okay. Like, trusting the right people are gonna see it no matter what, all that stuff. Because like, I'm just not gonna do anything because I feel like I should or because other people are doing it. Like, I just refuse. Like, I feel like we can be successful in so many ways.
Right.
No.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who is wanting to get started? Let's say someone wants to start posting online, they wanna start showing up their authentic self, but they're still in that space of, like, hesitation. What would you say to someone like that?
I mean, I feel like that's literally every person I've ever spoken
I
to has
know,
ever
yeah.
done this.
Like, "Can I start posting reels? Can I start doing this?" And it's like, "Yes, just it doesn't have to be perfect, just start.
Yeah.
Just start." What would you say about that to them? Or what
Well,
do you say?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's very valid to feel that way. I was absolutely terrified too. And you just have to decide that you want it badly enough that you're willing to put up with the part that sucks. It's going to be awful. Like it's going to be scary. You're going to wonder what your family's thinking and what friends are thinking. And you
Yeah,
just have to really tune into your why. Do you desire this creative outlet? Do you desire to grow a business? Do you have words on your heart that you need to speak? Do you have a calling? And really make that more important than making it about yourself and what people are going to think. And from there you just have to decide to fucking do it. You have to just post the picture that's not perfect because nothing is,
right.
and you just have to write the post, stop editing it, just put it out there. And like because I've coached, I do a lot of business coaching, and so I've coached so many people on the process of starting to talk face to camera on Instagram stories. And obviously everyone's always afraid. But I promise every single one of them, it's gotten easier very quickly. Like within a few weeks, it's like, yeah, like, I mean, I don't know why I was so afraid, or it's gotten so much easier. So remembering that, like, you're just moving through something scary. Everything that's worth it in life has this element, right? So yeah, but it's also just like doing it, just put it
Yeah.
out there.
I did a recent podcast all about have the courage, feel the fear, and do it anyways.
Yes.
It's
I
what we
love
came here to do is to create and to
Yeah.
co-create with spirit, with the universe, with God, with each other, and so I just think that's really beautiful. Um, okay, so I wanted to touch on one more thing. So, as far as you setting boundaries when it comes to social media for yourself, what have you done in that light?
Yeah, so I probably put this into place, I think it was like January or December, but I just noticed I was getting so caught up. And it's like this feeling of like, and everyone listening probably knows the feeling when all you want to do is grab your phone, and it's like an impulsive like urge. And if you like, for many people it's so unconscious that we're like, well, how did I end up scrolling on social media? I picked up my phone to text someone, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if you don't let yourself grab your phone for just a minute, notice the feeling in your body of like the urge for it. It's a physical addiction. And actually what TikTok does, so when you go to a slot machine at a casino, the part of it that makes it so addictive is actually the losing, because it makes you crave that dopamine hit of winning. And so TikTok copied that into their format. So I don't use TikTok, but apparently they give you videos that they know you're not going to like mixed in with ones that you do like. And that's on purpose because that makes you crave that next one that you are going to like. So it's very
Interesting.
deliberate, it's very addictive. So yeah, I just have no pull towards TikTok personally, but I was like super addicted to Instagram. So anyways, what I put into place several things. Like first thing in the morning, I am not on social media, period. Like a lot of times it's 9 or 10 in the morning the first time I'm checking social media. Sometimes it's earlier, but it's never first thing. I really like to read in the morning, maybe drink some chai, do some journaling or breath work or yoga, like do some things that make me feel really grounded before I go into the world of social media. And it's also, social media is also my job. So that's another reason
Right.
why this is so important, right? But I think for anyone who's feeling this way, it can be super good. And then after like 5 p.m., I'm not on social media. Like in the evenings, I have TV. That's enough. Like I want to be present with my husband. That's really, really important to me. I take most weekends off of social media. Sometimes I'm present, and when I'm present, it's like I'll hop on to share something, but I'm not like sitting on my phone like at all. And then when I was starting all of this and I was just trying to break that like addictive feeling of that urge to constantly grab my phone, I put a sticky note on my phone that said like, what is my intention? And it was just to train my brain to like just have a checkpoint of like, oh wait, why am I grabbing my phone? No, I'm grabbing my phone because I'm having a moment of like feeling bored or feeling whatever. And so in
Yeah.
those moments I didn't look at it. But if I had an intention, then sure, then now I'm gonna look at it. So just training yourself to like be more intentional about it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective of even setting a time frame at night, because I know for so many it's easy to wake up right in the morning, get on, start scrolling, right before you go to bed, get on, start scrolling. And so even if you do, I'm just thinking of like if someone who's really wanting to step out of this space, step more into their medicine, a heart-centered life, more intention, even if they have a challenge of 10 days where you set, okay, I'm not going to look at my phone until this time and then this time at night, and then have a journal by your bedside. So instead of the minute that you would start to look on your social media account, just grab your journal and just write whatever comes to your mind in the morning and at night. And I feel like that would bring a lot of understanding for people who are really trying to step into that space. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that 10-day challenge, and I know it's gonna be so effective in my space. And so yeah, I'm just seeing like, okay, even if you do it for so long where it's like, okay, it's pushing me, but it's not feeling overbearing, then at that point it's like, oh, I can do this. I like this. It changes the perspective just a little bit.
I love that. I love the idea of setting a number of days because it does feel a lot less intimidating.
Yeah.
And I think after 10 days, it's a big thing of like, oh, like, here's how different I feel. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Right.
love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm gonna do it.
I
I
love
challenge everyone who's listening to do it too if you're feeling drawn to that.
Yes.
Of course, if your heart desires.
Yeah, it's like to be intuitive when you're constantly on your phone, constantly absorbing the energy that's coming through from all the people you're looking at on social media, to try and be creative for your own social media if that's what you choose to do for fun or for work. I mean, you're just completely, to me, like I feel so much more clear to receive downloads and be connected to myself when I'm detached from my phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This has been so refreshing, and I feel as though I have new areas of my medicine, sparking and bringing myself to be more alive inside. And this is the point of the podcast is to be like, okay, there's this 10-day challenge. I'm going to try this. It wasn't in my mind until we talked about it, and learning more about breath work. So I just feel as though that's the point is as we share our medicine, we engage that in other people, and then we can all live a more heart-centered life. And ultimately that heals ourselves, it heals the community, heals each other, heals Mother Earth, which is what, we're in this space of evolution for a purpose right now. And I'm just so grateful for you and for your time. So I wanted to just end by, you know, asking how others can get a hold of you, what it is that you're up to. Of course, we have your book, The Uncaged Soul. What else? How else can other people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram as it's Leah Pardee. And then my podcast is Bare Naked Soul. So those are the two places I'm the most active.
I love that. That's beautiful. And do you have any classes going on right now?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily have like regular classes for breathwork, but I do have the breath portal, which is my ongoing digital library of videos. So there's everything from like 10-minute morning quickie breathwork videos to like hour-long workshops with journaling and breathwork and like deep healing work. And so there's a 7-day free trial for that. People can hop in and check that out. And yeah, I do like a lot of digital courses and different things like that. But
Oh, that's powerful. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really good to have that support because we all need it sometimes to
Mhm.
help us move forward and connect in. Do you feel called to connect to your medicine within? Have you wanted to strengthen your spiritual gifts? Are you looking for ways to incorporate the sacred into your everyday life? Maybe do you want to have like minded friends in a tribe who can connect with you? Modern Sage's Soul Tribe is dedicated to spiritual seekers like yourself who are embracing the medicine within. Now, in this tribe, we are going to be doing moon gatherings, amazing spiritual gift giveaways, connecting to a soul tribe, as well as hosting mystery school classes. If you are feeling called to connect to the soul tribe, I will leave a link for you in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to Modern Sages Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us online. Blessings.